Is the future of gaming already knocking at our doors, or are we merely dreaming? That was the exclamation reverberating across gamer forums around the world, as soon as people caught a glimpse of the brand new Death Stranding 2, on the beach running on the trusty PlayStation 5. Some people are convinced that Hideo Kojima and his team have already begun sculpting an experience worthy of the yet unannounced PlayStation 6, leaving many to wonder if the boundary between current and next generation has, at long last, started to blur. And that is precisely what we are going to unravel here today. How could a single new title spark such a frenzy of speculation about Sony's next console release? And why are so many gamers, freshly arrived in the PlayStation 5 camp after battling supply shortages and online scalpers, unsettled by the very thought of moving on? In this narrative, we will shine a spotlight on the captivating rumors surrounding the fabled PlayStation 6, how the extraordinary brilliance of Death Stranding 2 on the beach is fueling excitement, and what it all means for you and the broader gaming world at large. So, gather around. In the next several minutes, we will dive into the heart of the matter. We will peel back the layers of speculation around Sony's rumored strategy for the future, investigate whether Death Stranding 2 is truly the harbinger of a new era, and see precisely how real gamers across the globe are reacting to it all. We will also delve into why the PlayStation 5 is still reveling in its prime, and whether any talk of a new generation is simply premature hype or something more tangible. Prepare yourselves, because in this extensive exploration, we hope to illuminate every angle of how a game can serve as the best advertisement for something not even on the market yet. And if at any point you catch yourself feeling that immersive rush, feel free to drop a like to let us know. This journey resonates with your gaming dreams. Let us begin by addressing the elephant in the room, the rumored PlayStation 6. Despite widespread insistence that Sony's upcoming console is still a few years down the line, every whisper of a new patent, every job listing that references next-generation hardware, and every cryptic quote from a Sony executive can ignite speculation faster than a racing heartbeat. After all, the PlayStation brand has become synonymous with gaming's mainstream evolution ever since the mid-90s. Each time a new Sony console looms on the horizon, the entire industry tends to hold its breath, waiting for the next wave of technological breakthroughs. But this time around, the context is somewhat peculiar. When the PlayStation 5 launched around the tail end of 2020, it collided with exceptional challenges. Production constraints due to worldwide supply chain problems, a COVID-19 pandemic affecting nearly every aspect of logistics, and the phenomenon of scalpers snapping up the limited stock in seconds. Many devoted fans were left trying to buy the console months, or even years, after it debuted, leading to the impression that the life cycle of the PlayStation 5 had only truly begun for a huge chunk of players recently. Since the lifespan of modern consoles generally runs between 5 and 7 years, many would argue we are still just getting comfortable with the PlayStation 5. So, how can it possibly be time to speculate about the PlayStation 6? Nonetheless, a swirl of rumors and leaks suggests that internal teams may have started early work on new hardware. Some analysts propose it might be an upgraded second iteration of the PlayStation 5, akin to the mid-generation jump from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 4 Pro. Others assert it is absolutely the next generation. Regardless, fans who proudly own a PlayStation 5 worry that they barely got settled before hearing talk of the next big thing. The sense of being rushed into another wave of hardware is daunting, especially given the struggles many have faced to even lay their hands on the current console. Yet, here is the twist. The hype swirling around Death Stranding 2 on the beach has done more than shine a spotlight on Sony's new hardware ambitions. It has triggered a wave of commentary on social media in which players proclaim, "This game looks so good, it might as well be on a PlayStation 6. Let us dig into exactly what Death Stranding 2 is and why it is causing such excitement. The original Death Stranding, launched in 2019, was a polarizing masterpiece that challenged the very notion of what a video game could be. Developed by Kojima Productions, under the leadership of the visionary Hideo Kojima, that game invited players into a somber, desolate future fraught with supernatural elements and the haunting echoes of a devastated world. The emphasis was on traversal, forging connections, and existential wonder. Alongside its deeply philosophical narrative, Death Stranding also boasted breathtaking visuals, courtesy of the Decima engine. Players meandered across stunning, realistic environments, from windswept fields to craggy mountainsides. The results were so immersive that some gamers described it as having stepped into a cinematic experience. Now, Death Stranding 2, On the Beach arrives as the direct sequel to the original. While many anticipated Kojima would charge off in a new direction, the fact that he chose to revisit the somber realm of Death Stranding is intriguing in itself. But let us talk about its visuals, because that is where the real energy behind this PlayStation 6 speculation is coming from. The game is a shimmering display of photorealistic landscapes, lighting that dances off puddles and reflective surfaces, and particle effects so intricate it feels like you can almost touch the drifting embers on screen. From the dark alleyway that protagonist Sam trudges through, glistening with rain and electric sparks, to the radiant sunrise blossoming over a horizon dotted with ruins, Death Stranding 2 is pushing boundaries of what a console game can look like. Consider the pivotal conversation swirling on social media that ignited this entire "is it already PlayStation 6 level" mania. A single screenshot, shared by a user named Captain Horizon 7, depicted Sam traversing a rain-soaked street where the lighting was so realistically replicated, the reflections so pristine, that people interpreted it as pre-rendered or manipulated. But it was, to everyone's astonishment, an in-game capture directly from a standard console experience. Cue a tidal wave of fascinated commentary. If the PlayStation 5 can do this already, maybe we do not need another console, or we must be seeing a glimmer of PlayStation 6 potential. Of course, this begs the question, is Death Stranding 2 playing a role akin to a Trojan horse, slyly revealing next-gen features well before official announcements appear? There is ample precedent for such speculation. At the end of earlier console generations, developers often push existing hardware to its absolute limit. Games like The Last of Us on PlayStation 3 or The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt on later iterations of hardware were so advanced for their time that many critics hailed them as prime showcases of next-generation potential, even though they were made for current-generation consoles. Perhaps Kojima and his team have simply harnessed the Decima engine with surgical precision, showing that the PlayStation 5 still has plenty of power under the hood, even after a few years of being in the market. Yet behind this breathtaking visual display, deeper questions brew. If Death Stranding 2 is indeed pushing the PlayStation 5 to such extremes already, imagine what is in store when the official next-generation hardware eventually does arrive. Could the inevitable PlayStation 6, or whatever name Sony chooses, herald even more lifelike graphics, perhaps verging into uncanny territory? Might we see leaps forward in artificially intelligent characters, or entire worlds that feel as thick with detail as our own reality? These tantalizing possibilities keep fueling the conversation. It is almost as though the existence of a rumored console is overshadowed by the achievements of a game that forcibly demonstrates we are not even done exhausting the PlayStation 5's potential yet. We also have to consider the real-world context in which gamers find themselves. Many new owners of the PlayStation 5 got it only recently, possibly after 2021 or 2022. Some overcame frustration and heartbreak to finally snag a console at retail price, instead of the astronomically marked-up sums demanded by opportunistic scalpers. Others had to wait until entire production lines stabilized post-COVID-19 turmoil. For this crowd, the PlayStation 5 is still in its honeymoon phase, an exciting piece of hardware that they are only just beginning to explore. They might have jumped straight from PlayStation 4, or even older consoles, and are now reveling in the incredible jump in speed, fidelity, and accessibility. So, for them, the notion that a new console generation could be on the horizon feels nearly offensive. I just got here, they say, and now you want me to move on? Yet, in the eyes of major tech companies, time moves fast. Sony is not in the business of halting progress, simply because a portion of users is late to the party. The console race is a marathon that demands constant research, development, and investment in new technologies. For that reason, it is entirely plausible that behind closed doors, Sony's advanced engineering teams are toiling away at prototypes, conceptual designs, or even early dev kits for whatever might follow the PlayStation 5. It does not necessarily mean we will see a fresh console next year, or even in 2024, but from a strategic standpoint, it is wise for Sony to keep forging ahead. Now to address a crucial facet of this conversation, the difference between a major generational leap and a mid-cycle refresher. Traditionally, a new generation of consoles brings with it a radical step forward. Think about the upgrade from PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3, or from PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4. These leaps delivered significantly improved hardware architecture, new user experiences, and robust new design philosophies that shaped entire game industries for years. In contrast, mid-cycle refreshes, like the PlayStation 4 Pro, offered incremental improvements, updates to resolution and frame rate, minor performance boosts, and moderate expansions and storage options. Some fans worry that the rumored console might be just another variation of the PlayStation 5, forcing them to weigh whether it is worth upgrading so soon. Others fear an abrupt push to the official PlayStation 6, cutting short the lifespan of their beloved new system. Consequently, the swirling talk around Death Stranding 2 only amplifies these tensions. Folks see that game and ask, does it reveal that we are at the end of the current console's limits, or does it show we are only beginning to unleash the full beast? Which side is correct? In truth, we simply do not know. But one thing is clear. Sony is intent on demonstrating that the PlayStation 5 is not at all obsolete hardware. Far from it, games like Death Stranding 2, On the Beach prove that we have yet to see the final word in terms of this generation's graphical and performance feats. Perhaps this is Kojima's grand statement too. He has always been an auteur who pushes technology to new heights. Whether it was with the Metal Gear Solid franchise or the original Death Stranding, Kojima never shied away from exploring new territory. This time around, perhaps he is indirectly challenging us. Look what we can accomplish right now. Just imagine what is still ahead. Speaking of imagination, Death Stranding 2's storyline once again places players in the boots of Sam Porter Bridges, though there are multiple new faces to join him on his strange missions. The game starts in a city bathed in an otherworldly twilight, the streets shimmering as unseen forces swirl overhead. The decaying fragments of society that remain after the cataclysmic events of the first game have continued to push humans into pockets of isolation, and forging connections is both a technological and emotional challenge. The beach motif takes on a more profound resonance here. Beaches, after all, were metaphysical spaces between life and death in the original story. Now, in Death Stranding 2, they become a new frontier where profound revelations about existence might be uncovered. The graphical fidelity on display is said to be breathtaking, with each grain of sand, each droplet of water refracting light in ways that skirt the line between reality and digital simulation. Some segments of the game push players through violent storms, where swirling debris is not merely a visual flourish, but can impact gameplay. Others plunge Sam into claustrophobic tunnels lit by flickering neon signs, the reflections dancing like ghosts on every surface. Indeed, it is precisely this advanced layering of detail that has many folks exclaiming they have never witnessed anything quite like it on a home console. Sure, one could find games on supercharged personal computers boasting hyper-realistic visuals, but the PlayStation 5 is seen as a stable, standard hardware environment, making these results all the more impressive. Here is where you might ask, is this next-level gaming enough to overshadow early talk of the PlayStation 6? Or does it merely prove that Sony is on the cusp of unveiling something even more extraordinary? That question remains loaded with speculation. Gamers are an enthusiastic bunch, always chasing the horizon of possibility. They relish gleaning what is next, reading every rumor, analyzing every patent, and dissecting every developer comment. It is almost a sport in itself. Meanwhile, large publishers, manufacturers, and studios thrive on that excitement. The hype machine is an integral part of what keeps the industry dynamic and profitable. If you are as captivated by these hints of the future as we are, do consider giving us a nudge of approval, because that helps us recognize how deeply this next wave of innovation resonates with our shared passion. Every new rumor, every fresh tidbit of insider chatter only adds fuel to the speculation. Are we about to witness a revolution in physics simulations? Perhaps giving players the ability to manipulate intricate environments in ways never before possible? Will advanced ray tracing become a default feature so that every reflection and shadow is rendered in the moment without slowdown? Another dimension to consider is how new hardware might handle game streaming, cloud computing, and digital storefronts. If Sony's next console builds upon the strong foundation of the PlayStation 5, we might see a more seamless union between cloud services and local gameplay, bridging the gap for those who desire on-the-go play experiences. After all, the lines between different gaming platforms and diverse services have begun blurring in recent years. Perhaps the PlayStation 6 will unify them even further, ensuring a more cohesive ecosystem for gamers who straddle console, computer, and mobile spaces. That might include improved crossplay, better integration with social features, or advanced community-building tools. But while some people cheer such possibilities, others remain staunchly dedicated to their newly purchased PlayStation 5. For them, the arrival of Death Stranding 2 is not just a new game. It is the proof they needed that this console can still produce awe-inspiring experiences for years to come. They want developers to continue optimizing for the hardware, discovering novel ways to push the boundaries of performance and creativity without requiring them to purchase another expensive device. Judging by the near-universal acclaim for Death Stranding 2, it appears that the development community is nowhere close to giving up on the current generation. In fact, the blossoming of fresh titles like this might convince fence-sitters that it is finally time to join in and buy the PlayStation 5, comfortable in the knowledge that revolutionary graphics and gameplay are still on the horizon for the device. Yet the specter of the PlayStation 6 conversation cannot be dismissed outright. Just because we see marvelous achievements on the current hardware does not negate the undeniable reality that someday Sony will produce a new console. Though no official revelations have emerged, it is only logical that the technology will eventually leap forward once again. With each new generation, the barrier between real-life and photorealistic gaming edges closer to collapse. Perhaps the next generation will deliver truly persistent online worlds that adapt to player behavior in ways we have never seen before. Or maybe it will give us advanced augmented reality experiences, where players can project game elements onto their living rooms or gardens. The potential is massive, and at times, the hype leaps ahead of the actual practicalities, creating both excitement and confusion among gamers. We also should not underestimate the behind-the-scenes marketing angle. If people are already buzzing that Death Stranding 2 feels like it is made for the PlayStation 6, it effectively becomes an advertisement for Sony's brand. Even though the new console does not yet exist in an official sense, the speculation alone keeps all eyes on Sony's ecosystem. Many see it as a sign that the exclusive titles and big cinematic experiences are thriving. Even in the face of stiff competition from other platforms, Sony has cultivated its exclusive lineup to maintain an air of must-have prestige. The synergy between a blockbuster game and the console's brand recognition is a phenomenon as old as gaming itself. But in this case, it might be intensifying the illusions surrounding the future of Sony's gaming hardware. Of course, one of the biggest obstacles for any leap into new hardware remains consumer readiness. If what thousands of players are saying is accurate, that they are quite comfortable with the PlayStation 5 and do not feel anywhere near ready to move on, then unveiling a new console too soon could backfire. Sony would run the risk of alienating fans who are only now coming into possession of a console they felt forced to chase for months. Balancing early adopters, who constantly hunger for cutting-edge gear, with the average consumer, who prefers to invest once in a console and stick with it for years, is one of the perpetual challenges in gaming. And then we arrive at the fulcrum of it all. Death Stranding 2's extraordinary capacity to enchant players halfway through the current generation. Why is that so critical? Typically, around this point in a console lifecycle, we see top-tier developers unraveling advanced tricks to harness every last drop of performance power. They figure out how to use the hardware more efficiently than ever before, layering in complex gameplay systems without sacrificing frames per second. That is precisely what is happening now, which ironically sparks the question, if we, as an industry, are just getting to the good part, why are we talking about the next console? The answer can be complicated, wrapped in corporate strategies, consumer psychology, and the unwavering pursuit of innovation. In terms of the game's story, Death Stranding 2 sprinkles enough new intrigue to stand on its own for players who might be just discovering Kojima's post-apocalyptic realm. Yet for longtime fans, mystical expansions, brand new story arcs, and a deeper look into Sam's haunted persona remind them why they fell in love with the original in the first place. The collaborative elements introduced in this sequel, where players can leave behind hints or structures for others to discover, return with grand enhancements that tie together communities in fascinating ways. The actual process of crossing landscapes itself has been twined with novel challenges that demand strategic thinking, like forging specialized equipment to handle brutal storms, raining acid, or forging alliances with local outposts that can assist in forging safe roads. There is a synergy between gameplay, narrative, and technology that resonates deeply with players who crave more than a shallow blockbuster. This synergy indicates a developer at the top of their game, and that alone gives us a reason to trust that the PlayStation 5, in the right hands, is capable of feats we might not have believed even a few months prior. Yet you might wonder, how long can this honeymoon last? Will we see an avalanche of further titles that match or even surpass this new benchmark of visual fidelity, reinforcing the notion that we have miles to go before the PlayStation 5 sleeps? Or is Death Stranding 2 a sign that, if any developer tries to push beyond even these jaw-dropping achievements, there would simply be nowhere else to go on the current hardware, thus necessitating the next console generation? The conversation grows only more heated as more players get their hands on Death Stranding 2 and share their own experiences. Whether it is jaw-dropping screenshots or stories of how unbelievably smooth the gameplay feels even in chaotic environments. At some point, many are expecting an official statement from Sony to quell the storm of rumors. Perhaps in a year or so, we may get a formal reveal laying out whether the next iteration is truly a mid-generation step up or a radical leap to the PlayStation 6. In either scenario, the lessons gleaned from Death Stranding 2 will remain relevant. Game developers now know that with a focused engine and strong artistic direction, they can conjure up near cinematic marvels on a system that still feels brand new to a large chunk of the world. On the flip side, fans can rest assured that their console, even if overshadowed by some speculation about next-gen hardware, retains enormous potential. So, rather than worry about obsolescence, fans can soak in the extraordinary experiences that Kojima and other forward-thinking creators are rolling out. So, where does that leave us? It seems that Sony's next console, whether we call it PlayStation 5 Pro or skip straight to the rumored PlayStation 6, remains on the horizon line, an inevitable star in the distance. But for now, the PlayStation 5's star still shines bright, especially since Death Stranding 2 has proven that there is so much to be gained from brilliant craftsmanship, ingenuity, and the raw talent of developers who know how to bend technology to their creative will. It is almost thrilling to realize that we may have only scratched the surface of what this generation can achieve, even if the constant tide of speculation might have us believing the next era is already upon us. As we draw near the end of this exploration, if you feel that usual sense of anticipation, eager to see just how far these marvels of technology can go, do not forget to subscribe or follow. That way, you will never miss a moment when something big drops in the gaming world. For the devoted players who only just secured their beloved PlayStation 5 consoles, take heart. The wonders of Death Stranding 2 prove that your system is not obsolete. It is forging new frontiers. And for those enticed by the prospect of even more powerful machines on the horizon, keep your ears to the ground. Sony may indeed open a door to the next generation sooner than we expect. For now, all we can do is immerse ourselves in the enthralling experiences like Death Stranding 2, on the beach, and enjoy that tantalizing sense of possibility. Because if this is what we can already accomplish on current hardware, imagine the leaps waiting for us in the generation yet to come.